Guys, thanks for checking out Quick Sessions Podcast. My name is Garrett Terrio, coming to you from Houston, Texas, inside Timberline Fitness Studio. And we're going to stay in the realm of working through ailing body parts. And we're going to tackle a subject that is near and dear to my heart because I've been doing it since I was 6 years old, and that's bench pressing. And the thing about bench pressing, the older you get, the more you do it, the heavier you go, the higher your volume, whatever. You're ultimately going to run into some type of injury, some type of ailment, something that's going to prevent you from feeling 100% the next day or the next week. And there's a tons of things that you need to start doing, or ideas, recommendations, to not only prevent these injuries from happening, but to rehab these injuries as you continue with your workouts. Because listening to this podcast, you know I don't believe in stopping your lifting routine just because of a minor injury. Now, you break your arm, clearly you're not doing curls, but even then, there's so many other things to do that I think it's necessary, right? Your body's not going to stop trying to get stronger if you're trying to get stronger. You know, you can't use your broken arm, but there's plenty of other things you can do, abs, other arm, legs, and there's a technical term for this that's leaving me right now. But your entire muscular system is going to continue to want to adapt whenever you're in the gym moving weight. But anyway, getting to the bench press, there's plenty of things that happen. Me personally, when I do incline bench press, I have a bad habit that leads me to injure my neck every 3 months because I'm a dope and I forget and I always think I'm fine, but I'm finally coming to the realization I got to stop doing it. Now, when I say a neck injury, there's nothing wrong with the vertebrae. It's simply a limited range of motion. It doesn't even hurt, really. You can just tell the muscle locks up and doesn't want to participate as much as it did before. So we'll start there. We'll start with rule number 1 to avoiding injury on the bench press. Whenever you go to rack your bench press, incline or flat, I happen to do it on incline because of the situation I'll tell you about. But when you're done with the bench press, right, you engage your chest, you've engaged your back, you keep a nice core, you lift it off, everything's flexed, right? Your lats, your lower traps, your chest, shoulders, everything's ready to go. Go down, you do your set. The problem with your neck and your upper traps, the easiest way to hurt them is when you extend your shoulders up out of that girdle to rack it. So if the racking the bar is just a little too high, that is when these neck injuries can happen. I am the poster boy for these injuries. Happens all the time, and it's always on incline, and I always make the mistake. I think I'm going light enough to where I can still reach that extra rack, and then boom, ultimately I feel a little twitch in my trap. Now, luckily, I've gotten to the point where I know, okay, time to stop. That's it. No more incline. Go work it out with a Theragun, and I ice it, and it minimizes how long my neck mobility is compromised. But it can happen on flat too. So that big roundabout story is basically to tell you, rule number 1, make sure you have a rack that fits you. And if you cannot find a rack that is perfect height for you, rack one lower. All right, if you like to unrack it from the higher one, that's fine. Odds are you're never going to hurt your trap that way because you're just more focused, more engaged, and you're not fatigued yet. Everything's working correctly. But rack it on the lower one, and then just get out and move it up one spot if you need to. A lot of people, because everybody's got different arm lengths and wingspans and whatnot, so it makes sense, depending on what gym you're at, where there's just one type of bench or one type of rack, so it might not be extremely versatile. So rule number 1, make sure you don't overextend yourself trying to rack it. Don't try to push your shoulders further forward than they need to go just to reach that higher rack. Avoid that, you'll save the neck injuries. Number 2, one of the big problems you hear is, I call them stitches, but intramuscular twinges, I would say, between your shoulder blades when you bench press. Now, a lot of this is the work of the lower trap, and what happens is when your back is not fully engaged in your bench press, a lot of the flat back benchers, or the people that put their feet up on the bench to bench press, when your back is flat, you cannot adequately engage your lats to support the descending weight of the bench press. Your back is going to want to get in there and help out. However, if you're not arched and engaged, your rhomboids and your lower traps, and maybe even your lats to an extent, are gonna freak out. Like, they know they're supposed to support the weight. However, you're not, through your physical cues, not telling it to support it. So it freaks out, it tightens up, and you have that little knot right in your shoulder blade that someone has to put an elbow in there just to relieve it a little bit. So that's number 2. Always engage your back. I would say your back and your core, but for the sake of this commentary, let's just say your back. Always arch your back. Do not go flat bench. I know it feels good, but it's because you're using less energy because you're not engaging your back. That's why it feels good. Being lazy feels good. That's why so many people do it. If you're in there bench pressing, moral of the story, don't be lazy. Arch the back, poke out the chest, tighten your core. That will save you from a ton of those little knotty injuries that so many people get. Number 3, I do not practice this, but I definitely recommend it for the average lifter. Find a chiropractor or a massage therapist or both that you visit once a month. Even if you're not injured, they're so good at finding places on your body that are out of whack or uneven and don't even hurt, but they can tell what's tight and what's not, and they can work at it and try to restore some kind of balance in your back or chest or shoulders or what have you. Now, like I said, I don't practice it myself. I should. I do enough therapy on my own body since I work in a gym and I'm here for 8 to 10 hours a day. I'm able to find time. Now, it's not good as a real professional doing it, I understand, but I'm yet to feel these type of ailments. And I'm going to be hard-headed until I do feel these type of ailments like the knots in the back and the shoulder discomfort. Then I'll go the chiropractor route. I've never been a fan of massage. Number one, because I feel like massage is something that is very temporary. I feel like chiropractors do a little bit better job of fixing things that allow you to get back to what you were doing. Whereas massage makes you feel good and can definitely loosen up those muscles. But the way they do it, they're not looking for trigger points to release tightness. They're looking for the actual muscle, and they're going to work it until it gives up and loosens up. Once you get back to lifting, a lot of times you can go right back to that tightness. So number one, chiropractor for sure. Find a chiropractor, go once every 6 weeks, a month, whatever you like or whatever your budget allows you. Go for something like that, especially when you start creeping up into your 40s and 50s and you still are looking to really push the limit on the weights. And that could be not just for making sure your chest and your bench press is going to be okay, but that could be for anything, but specifically chest or bench press, because like I said, bearing the weight on the way down of a bench press takes so much back work. And that's a lot of little muscles that go a lot of different directions that you're trying to coordinate while at the same time trying to be explosive the opposite way in a millisecond. So number 3, find some therapy in your life, whether it's professional or you have a Theragun and foam rollers and lacrosse balls and you're good about doing it yourself, then go for it. The fourth one's basic. It was just like the shoulder episode we did last. Warm up. And here's a thing I see a lot of people doing that is okay, but there's much better ways to do it. Shoulder warm-ups are much more crucial than actual chest warm-ups. Because truth is, whatever you can do for 10 is suitable for a warm-up. Not your 10 rep max, maybe not if you're really going for something, but let's say you normally go in and do 4 sets of 10 of 185. You don't need to warm up your chest a ton to do that 185. What you need to warm up is back, shoulders, traps, things like that. So one thing I would say, if you want a little quote coming out of it, is warm up to bench press. Don't bench press to warm up. A guy the other day, we just put him through a warm-up before bench of shrugs, 4-direction shoulder raises, Y raises, and pull-ups. All that stuff before, and then we did a warm-up set of 135 or what have you, all before ultimately benching our first set. And it sounds like a lot, but the truth is if you just get in and do it, in about 2 minutes you'll be done. You'll feel better. You'll even have a little bit of a sweat going. And also like a cardio warm-up wouldn't hurt either, just to get blood flow pumping. But you really need to do all these different shoulder things. You could even throw in some rotator cuff, some bands or some shoulder horn, some light dumbbell stuff. But it's so crucial because if everything's not working the right way in a bench press, there's so many moving parts. It's the most complex upper body exercise there is. So having a well-rounded warm-up is crucial. It might be the most crucial. Like I said, this is the last tip, definitely not the least. Other than that, guys, stretch after you bench press every time. Don't screw around. Take every set seriously, especially when you're going heavy. Keep your feet on the ground, keep your butt down, position yourself correctly. Those are all little extra things that I'm not going to elaborate on, but I would definitely recommend if you're going to bench press. Guys, thanks for checking it out. Make sure to rate and review us in the Apple Pod Center and Spotify or wherever else you're getting this podcast. Check us out online. Go GarrettTerrioHealth.com or QuickSessionsPodcast.com. If you have any questions about any of these podcasts or would like to hear of a different subject matter, you can shoot an email on either of the websites, leave a comment on Instagram, what have you. I appreciate you listening. Catch you next time.